working in a tradition where this sutra was really the basis, you might slowly and carefully, meticulously develop mindfulness in many, many ways. This is related to what we're doing, but we tend to emphasize something else. My friends, something wonderful has happened. Yes, my voice does seem more audible in here, so thank you so much to those folks who are working on the technology here, which is such a kind act, you know. People may have aversion to technology or appreciation for it, but with all its limitations, it does allow us to connect with each other in this context. And so the people who are working on the technology are helping us be together, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So the mindfulness of body, I am generally talking about it in a pretty simple way because that's more the style of Soto Zen. Just like knowing, you know, oh, this is like, feels like this. You could even have some words. Feels relaxed, feels tense, but you don't even need any words. You could just actually, are you aware there are bodily sensations right now? Good job. Good job. You are practicing the foundation of mindfulness. This is a basis and a ground for liberation. But the sutra itself, I will not unpack this at any length, but it is fairly involved, and it starts with being aware of the breath, then being aware of the posture, then mindfulness of clear comprehension, which basically means being aware of the total field of the senses, mindfulness of the elements, which is being aware of the element of heat, fluidity, solidity, and air in the body. Something I found completely baffling for like 20 years, and then I was at a retreat with a friend, and he gave a beautiful teaching on it, and I was like, wow. So remember, whenever there's a teaching and you think that makes no sense and I'll never get that, what do we say? Just keep coming back. It works if you work it. Also, mindfulness of the unattractiveness of the body. This is really not very popular among people I know. Sitting and contemplating the body in terms of the contents of the body, so the internal organs, the feces inside the body, the bile, fluids that we don't want to think about very much. This is generally understood to be a medicine for attachment to the body, clinging to the body. And then finally, mindfulness of the body in decomposition as a corpse, which has a similar type of a tone. So these last two, around unattractiveness and impermanence of the body, like I say, are not so popular among people I know. But what they point towards is that mindfulness is attending to help us be deeply aware of something and really care about it, showing we care by paying attention, but be unattached. And generally speaking, it seems like people, if they care about something, they tend to be pretty attached. They want it to go the way they want it to go. They don't like it when it doesn't. They suffer when it doesn't. When it goes the right way, they celebrate, and then that ends. And then you're back on the wheel. So what about being able to care about something really deeply, but just be like, it's like this now. It's like this now. It's like this now. And, you know, instead of like, it's like this now and I need to judge whether it's what I want or not, and resist or try and manipulate reality. So this balance between deeply seeing but not being attached underlies teachings on mindfulness in general. The other main sutra on mindfulness in the Pali Canon is the Mindfulness of Breathing Sutra. So this one is like this long sequence of, like we say, as I breathe in, being aware of the breath. Breathe out, being aware of the breath. And then you start saying, breathing in, I'm aware of the body. Breathing out, I'm aware of the body. Breathing in, I'm noticing the formation in the body, which basically means the emotional content. Breathing out, I notice the formation in the body. Breathing in, I tranquilize the body. Breathing out, I tranquilize the body. It goes on for many, many different steps. But the main thing here is mindfulness in classical Buddhism includes inducing or creating or welcoming states of calm and presence, which are nice, and I can encourage it. But sometimes mindfulness is described as being an absolutely neutral type of thing, but I don't think this reflects what the teachings seem to be inviting us to do. That we can definitely say, I am aware of the body, and I'm going to do something to help it feel calm. That would be okay. That would be okay. So, knowing the body, it helps us to be here. We're already here, but then we maybe more notice that we're here. I don't know if you've noticed this already, or maybe you're different than all the other people I know, but your mind can make you think you're not here. It's real. But the body only gives present moment sensations. So that helps us to be like, oh, it's like this now. It's like this now. And mindfulness of the body is a ground of awakening for many people. In the practice period, the folks are studying the Therigatha, which is the verses of the elder nuns. So it's a big body of poems and then stories associated with them that is found in the earliest Buddhist literature. And there are numerous women who write poems about awakening as in being liberated from suffering in moments of like recognizing how frail and painful the body is. So like falling down or just being like, But, which, that's useful because like, I'm like, what, am I going to awaken when everything's perfect? That's when I'll be happy, when I get everything all dialed up just for me. Well, we may be waiting for a long time for that. But one of my favorite poems in the Therigatha is that of Patachara. And there, she's just caught up in her head. She's comparing herself to other people. And she's, why am I working so hard at this and nothing's working out? I just identify with Patachara so much at this point. And then the poem shifts and she just starts talking about doing things with her body. She says, bathing my feet. I watched the bathwater spill down the slope. I trained my mind the way you train a good horse. That is, to be foundation in the body. I took a lamp and went into my room, checked the bed, sat down on it, took a needle, pushed the wick down. When the lamp went out, my mind was freed. The entire sequence of events leading to her freedom from suffering and attainment of nirvana is just a series of simple household activities done with care and with attention to the body. So, I do, like I say, notice that people now that I know will use the term embodiment to mean what sounds to me exactly like mindfulness of the body. There may be some distinctions in their mind, but, it's like I say, someone might say, I just feel really deeply embodied today, or I don't feel embodied, or this person seems embodied. And they seem to mean just aware of the body, as opposed to, I suppose, being up in your head. I think this is in part a reaction to the term mindfulness they're like, well, I don't want to be mindful of the body. I just want to be in the body. Well, in every single phase of the four foundations of mindfulness, it describes mindfulness of the body in the body. Mindfulness of the feelings in the feelings. So there is an element with mindfulness. It will sometimes feel like I am observing a thing. Right, if you just notice right now, notice the sensation in your left big toe. So you may have kind of a sense that I there's a me that's observing a sensation. But also, sometimes it's more like there's not so much a distance between what is observed and what is observing. And mindfulness teaching in the 4 foundations of mindfulness does want to begin to close that gap. Close that gap. But the term mind here, I think, is appropriate to the context, because basically Buddhism says you don't have any awareness of anything you don't have awareness of. Which sounds pretty straightforward. But they're saying you can't jump out of your own consciousness to find anything. You're only going to find life, you're only going to find liberation, you're only going to find practice in this field of experience now. And all of that field experience is called mind. So body is not separate from mind. So when we say mindfulness, it's not about thinking so much. Maybe a little bit to help you get closer. So I thought we could do some meditation practice here. This being the Minnesota Zen Meditation Center. So I like to just play around with meditation during Dharma talks. I think when you come for zazen, you can romp and play in samadhi, as Hongzhi says, but you don't have to make technique. You can just come into the space, arrange the body in the posture of zazen, and that's it. But here I'll play around a little bit. We can use our imagination and our capacity for memory. So I'm just going to invite you to find a posture that you will find conducive to being still for 5 or 10 minutes, something like that. And we'll just begin by using the basic approach that the 4 foundations of mindfulness offers. So we'll just start by bringing awareness to the sensations of breathing. And here I'll invite you to notice the breathing in the lower abdomen. Notice the belly. So with mindfulness of breathing as a foundation, you can just notice now that there are sensations throughout the body. And you might notice that with this prompt, it's like there tends to be a sense of kind of moving through the body or picking parts of the body. You might sort of notice, oh, there's these particular sensations in my shoulder, or these ones in my knees, or whatever. And that's fine. But you can just practice to just expand the field so you are aware of the whole body in all its diversity of sensation. And if you find you're not aware of the breath or not aware of the whole body, a pretty simple response is available to just notice the breath right now. Just, notice the whole body right now. There are sensations there. Now, I'm just going to let us engage our imagination a little bit. And just imagine yourself at the first moments of waking up in the morning. You can kind of use your imagination to put yourself in that sensory environment. It's the texture of what other fabrics are touching the skin, the sounds you might hear, the emotional and mental content that might happen. And just imagine this moment of waking up and being mindful of the body, just as you have been sitting here practicing meditation. Now let's just try another situation. How about imagining some moment at which you unlock a door, perhaps to a building. It could be your house, or it could be a workplace or something. Let's kind of picture this environment. Imagine what it's like. And then imagine being mindful of the breath and the whole body in the same way that we have been practicing meditation. Well, let's let this go, and maybe imagine some part of your life where you might have like a difficult conversation or contact with someone who's, maybe kind of irritating or frustrating. And just imagine being with them in this moment of irritation or frustration. What that's like. And then just imagine being mindful of the body and the breath in this situation, just as we, in this way that we have been in meditation. Well, let's let that go and try just one more imagination here. Imagining making physical contact with someone you appreciate and care about. Could be like a hug, or if you're not a hugger, just a warm handshake. Just imagine hugging or making a physical contact with someone that you like and trust and appreciate. And just imagine being deeply aware of the breath and the body in this moment of physical contact. And let's just let the imagination go, just let the attention rest in the breath and the body right here. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them up and just move the body, adjust and reorient to the somewhat more conventional way of being in here, but you can still be mindful of body. How cool is that? It's already here, supporting you. So, there's a lot of ways that one can relate to the body are difficult or afflictive. We all have, different conditioning in this lifetime and in the cultures in which we live, and far beyond that, from a Buddhist perspective, the conditioning that produces this moment for us is the entire universe. So that's quite a bit. Well, yeah, it's common for people to, the main or a way they often relate to the body, if they turn towards it, is in an objectifying way. So people are taught by our culture to objectify and judge the body in terms of how it looks, how it appears to other people. And this can be painful or challenging, for sure. So that's not what mindfulness is about. Sometimes it's like pain in the body. Yeah, so maybe some people in this room are sitting here and they're like, well, that was really hard because I have this pain in my body. I just got closer to it. Actually, mindfulness of body, my understanding is in terms of science, some of the most effective, mindfulness of body and mindfulness in general, one of the things they're most effective at treating is pain in the body. I'm not really trained in the particular modalities they're using, but to make a really general frame, if you have pain in the body and you're practicing mindfulness, two of the most basic ways to approach it is, one is you just let the sensation be there and you practice holding awareness of the whole body, and it's like, oh, this sensation is there, and you're probably very likely to notice difficult feelings or thoughts. But sometimes what can happen is you start to just be like, that's just something that's happening, among a lot of other things. So that is can be really effective for people sometimes. Another thing that can be effective is actually using some other part of the body or using some other focus of awareness, because it's just too much, or it's just not working to be there with the pain. And there's actually, this is something, if this is a part of your life, it's really useful to have a teacher and to kind of work through it, because there's a lot of subtleties and Other things worth noting is if you're sitting still for a long time and it hurts a lot, you could just move. That might be a good idea. So mindfulness is about care. Everything, the entire ethos of Buddhism is like caring about suffering and then doing something that helps. So mindfulness should be helping us to be aware of what is here and clear about what would actually help. But sometimes it's confusing. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, also sometimes the body feels really good. You get a lot of enjoyment. It's very beautiful. That's fun. Then you should immediately turn towards corpse meditation. It's not really my style. So, one of the root preparatory practices for many styles of Tibetan meditation is the first thing you do is you focus on gratitude for the fact that you have a body, that like the universe has conspired in whatever way it has. So in this moment, it's like, wow, there's a body here. I mean, like, it's really wild to think about what had to happen for that to occur. I mean, like, how does it even work? You know, back to old David Burton, how do I work this? I don't know. I mean, someone can, they can do some wonderful science, but that gives you a framework for understanding how it works. But everything is beyond our knowing. That is my training and belief. So, culture really impacts how people think about bodies. People just think about bodies differently or relate to them differently. Different cultures, different family systems. People will talk about this. The way we're socially identified seems to have a really big, just talking to a lot of people, I've heard people say this, people from groups that are marginalized, where they're always seeing images of people who don't look like them, can cause some difficult feelings. Trauma can have a really big impact on how we relate to the body. A lot of people who have trauma histories will have a tendency to really want to alienate from the body or have a lot of difficult feelings there. So all this is part of the deal. I actually do think that the basic conviction that Buddhist teachings offer, that developing mindfulness of body is something that everyone can always do, and that is beneficial regardless of our conditioning. I think that is accurate. There may be moments where we need to like take a break, but it's kind of a matter of degree. A matter of degree. I can just personally say that like learning to be more deeply attuned to my body has been radically and astonishingly transformative. Because, up in your head, I've been that. Probably within the last hour and a half. Consciousness does all kinds of things. It's wonderful. So, I just want to talk about embodiment in sort of the more old common meaning, of, I don't know, what could we say? Joan of Arc was the embodiment of courage. I don't know anything about Joan of Arc. I think she was brave. Something like that, So it's like there's an ideal and then there's an expression. So, Dogen Zenji in Jijuyu Zanmai, Self-Fulfilling Samadhi, the founder of our school of Buddhism, says, when even one person at one time sits in zazen, they become imperceptibly one with each and everything and permeate all time, so that throughout the past, the future, and present, and throughout the limitless universe, they are performing the endless and wondrous work of guiding beings to enlightenment. Wow. I thought sitting zazen was just kind of being bored. Or trying to find something, or trying to get somewhere, have a realization. Where's my realization? So Dogen Zenji emphasizes that that practice of zazen is merely embodying Buddhahood. It's merely embodying Buddhahood. So it's not like a project. You can just sit down and it's good. It's good. Good job. That's why, like, I used to come up and talk about how bad I was at meditating. My teacher, Tim, would always say, "Oh, good job." Let's come back. Trusting. So when I got into, it was early in my practice here, I would go to meetings, and I was like, I would just go, oh, I'm just gonna do like this posture that I've been learning. And it was amazing. It like changed my whole relationship to the environment. People might have sometimes thought I looked weird, but I didn't try to overdo it. But I just found that embodying the kind of presence and care and attention and dignity and energy and calm that I valued and that called to me from Buddhism, just embodying it had an effect. Pretty simple. Yeah. And I've been doing that. You know, I've been like sitting in this upright posture now for daily for 25 years or something, and doing yoga in a devoted way for 20 years, and occasionally going to body workers. And I still have this totally weird curve in my spine. You know, some of my Zen teachers will just come up and they'll be like, "Can I just give you a little adjustment?" It's just practice. It's just practice. Attending to the body. Embodying something I value. We had Paula Arai here last couple weeks ago, I guess, who's a wonderful teacher from California. We usually bring one teacher for a weekend per year. And she was doing a workshop called Women Liberating Zen. And part of the workshop, she read these stories she'd written that were kind of imaginings of the lives of women in sort of historical Buddhist situations. And she read one that was about a young woman. The passage she wrote was just a young woman who was cooking rice for offerings to the monks in her town in a Theravadan country where the monks come through every day and beg for food. It just described her reverence and her care and that she took in cooking the rice and recognizing that it was part of a system that helped everyone take care of each other. Embodying interdependence, care, attention. We have memorial ceremonies in the Soto Zen tradition. We have like maybe a larger one with, you know, social events and longer things, but there's very short ones that can be done, so that we do them regularly here. So if a Sangha member has a family member die, they can request a memorial. We have this at the end of the morning service. There's just it's like a 2-minute chant, goes by pretty fast. And then 49 days, approximately 49 days after the death, we do a second service, sometimes called an eye closing. I generally call it a 49-day service. And then there's a little bit more ritual that goes with that one. But you know, I just notice the people who come to these often, they're, you know, there'll be the bereaved person and maybe some family. And it's very early in the morning, so not too much family. And then the people who just come to morning service, And in morning service, we practice embodying Buddhahood. So we sit zazen as the act of being Buddha, and then we stand up in this careful way, and we stand in specific postures, in an upright posture with stillness and concentration and care to the experience of the body. And it seems to create a space where people who have lost someone they love can feel held and cared for and seen. And it's different than, it's also okay to be like, you go up and say, oh, I'm so sorry, that's good too. But just this space where the grief can be just held, and these bodies are just there making space for it to be held, does seem to be healing for people. I used to think, this seems kind of cold, and then people keep saying, oh, it's so touching. Oh, well, I'm not going to argue with your experience, hopefully. So we have good opportunities for this embodying Buddhahood. I mean, from one perspective, you're already doing it, so good job, don't worry about it. On the other hand, we could all probably use a little work. So we have Rohatsu coming back up, 7-day sesshin. This is like such a precious opportunity to get to just move into just doing things in this way that is careful, caring, attentive, dignified, compassionate, quiet, calm, present. For me, it has taken practice, not just something that happened to occur. And yeah, it's mysterious how this impacts people. I go to a lot of things like vigils and rallies and protests. And, I try and just flow in a way that's good. So I've definitely been pulled into a dance circle wearing a Buddhist robe at George Floyd Square. And I think I have rhythm. Maybe. So, our practice is to understand and harmonize with what's here. So I try and do that. But I have found that one of the ways that seems to help is I just show up. I carry the visual material images of our tradition, and I try and embody what this tradition looks like. And it does seem like people sometimes find this really supportive. It's a way of helping people. And when I first started doing it, I was not really sure it was a good idea at all. Well, I'm just going to try something. But, people just said, thank you. Okay, good enough. So I think I put this on the bulletin. There's a sutra in the Pali Canon called 33 Synonyms for Nirvana. And it's like one of these things, sometimes like the Buddha just gets fired up. You're like, all right. He probably started singing in the middle of that one. He just starts saying all these super inspiring names for what nirvana is and what the path is leading to. It's nirvana, it's the deathless, it's liberation, it's the farther shore, it's total freedom from desire, aversion, and delusion. And whoa, wow. And he's going, wow. And then he goes, and what is the destination, this liberation, and what is the path leading to the destination? They're the same thing, mindfulness of the body in the body. And then he says, there are the roots of trees all around here. He's just saying, why are you listening to me? Just go sit down with the world. Establish mindfulness in front of you. That's the way it's often described in the texts. Know the body. And then you get up and you probably do something. And you can know the body then too. It's here. It's here. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to this talk. I would like to invite other folks to speak. Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
It feels like winter is a really good time to think about embodiment, because we do a lot of, being aware of our bodies as it gets cold. And it feels like winter just arrived this weekend. I was just reading a book called How to Winter. It's 250 pages, but basically the message is suffering is caused by wanting things to be different than they are. So I felt like I didn't really need 250 pages to convince me of that. But it's important, with things like, people who dread winter, and it's all about mindset and thinking about, your body, and how just because it's cold doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Or just because, you can view it differently. So I feel like this is a great time of year to think about embodiment.
Thank you, Katie. It's going to be good. We're going to be together with the entire universe. Maybe for another day. We might live for another day. Wow. Maybe another winter. And I will say, just in terms, I remember one time I was walking out of this place, maybe 20 years ago, and it was cold, and I was like, ah! And I was like, well, what if I just try embodying this path? And I was like, that was a major change in the way I'm experiencing this moment. So knowing the body, responding to what is there, trying something, it's cool. So thank you. Love that. Other voices? Yes, please.
Some of what you mentioned, like corpse practice, reminded me a little bit of I think it's a Tibetan Buddhist practice from Majik called Chud, or severance. I don't know if you're familiar with that, or if there's any history of that being practiced by Zen masters or not.
I know the name Chud. I have read something about it and forgotten it, so I could not speak to the relationship. Thank you. Go ahead.
Does the number 49 hold any significance in Buddhism?
Yes, 49 days. So in various Buddhist cultures, a number of them, there's kind of the idea that at the point of death, the consciousness enters into a state of transition, a new kind of transition, because we're already in transition. Like, it's already changed between you and me, just while we're talking. But a new kind of transition that will precede being reborn. And so the 49th day is the period of the end of that transitional period. So I have no idea whether that is true, but I do know that we make the ceremony one about letting go. So there's been a transition period, and we're making space for something new.
Okay. And are there any other significant numbers in Buddhism?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, lots. Yeah. There's multiple numerological systems, and So, I'm not actually very knowledgeable about it, but there definitely are. Okay, Dan.
I have a comment about Jud. I had a weekend program on Jud by a teacher under Siltram Aleone in Colorado, southern Colorado. And it's basically about contemplating your death, because death is part of your life. And you can't avoid it, but you can contemplate it. And if needed, adjust your life accordingly. So I found it rather helpful.
Thank you. Well, that was very kindly straightforward explanation. And yes, mindfulness of death is basic throughout most Buddhist traditions, and I do mindfulness of death practices on a regular basis, and it helps me. So, anyone online want to bring your voice into this whole situation? Okay, folks in the room, more voices. Yes.
Your quote from Dogen about just one person sitting, it reminded me so much of the Diamond Sutra. It seems like there's a subtext in the Diamond Sutra about if we just do one little thing, it makes so much difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's something there. Thank you. The rhetoric of the Diamond Sutra is kind of negative, but that negative rhetoric in Mahayana Buddhism is like if you cut through all your ideas about things, you see how everything is connected. And that is when we say, when even one person at one time sits in zazen, they become imperceptibly one with each and all of the myriad things and permeate completely all time. That sounds pretty connected. So yeah, and it's done through the body, right? It's by like the mind gets quiet. The body is already here with everything. The mind is too, it's just harder to see. Maybe one more person. Yeah. Well, let's try someone. Is someone who hasn't spoken? Yeah, go ahead.
Question about mindfulness of body and nourishment or food. Specifically, I guess, vegetarianism or veganism. I've noticed some lunches on here are served vegetarian. Is there context you can offer about food and that in Buddhism?
Oh yeah, yeah. Big. It's a kind of a big question. So let me just say, basically, the underlying ethos of Buddhism is that we want to recognize what is conducive to suffering, what is conducive to non-suffering, and develop our ability to do that what's conducive to non-suffering, and not do that which is conducive to suffering. And so the responses to this in terms of food are extremely various in Buddhist cultures. So some Buddhist cultures are sort of ardently vegetarian and some are not at all. They have all kinds of different logics for it. I encourage people not to eat animals because I don't think animals like to be eaten. But lots of people eat animals. You know, culture and food is such a deep thread for people. But I do encourage everyone here, in order for this body to be sustained, there needs to be eating. So trying to care about how your body relates to everything else and let that care transform what you do over time can help. So that's what I'll say about that. Thank you. And it's been really lovely to be with you all. I enjoy your bodies. And you probably have wonderful minds too. I love them too. So I'll turn it over to the Doan. Thank you.